Welcome to episode 202 of the Whatnots Review Show, where every week we pick a story and we talk about it. This could be a movie, TV series, anime, comic book, audio drama, all kinds of entertainment. We watch it, read it, listen to it, and then we come here and we discuss it. My name is Melissa Wilkinson, and I am joined, as always, by my co-captain, Kyle Springer.
Hello. Good morning. How's it going, Melissa?
I'm doing fine. How was your weekend?
My weekend's been pretty good. Despite some storms kind of passing over. This was the weekend that my girlfriend and I finished season 1 of Lost. So we are excited
perfect
about
timing.
That. Yeah. She's in the state where she has no idea what's happening. She doesn't know if it's dinosaurs, if it's time travel, if it's an experiment, if it's this, if it's that, and she's just like, I don't know what to say. What is this monster? What is that thing? What is that? I don't understand. I'm just like, here we go.
Wow. So now she's seen the boy get taken. One of the finest moments of the series, the most iconic.
We're gonna need the boy.
She's got so much of Harold Perrineau screaming ahead of her.
Whoa, no. So it's been a good weekend here at our house. It's been great.
Wow. Lost is enough to make it a good weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I'm so happy to hear about this journey from you guys.
We were like, we have like 6 episodes left on Friday night. What if we just binge it all and do that? And we're like, yeah, let's do it. So
that's how you do it. Yes.
That's what we did. Yeah, indeed.
Which is very appropriate that you're bringing this up, because today we are starting another one of our monthly ongoing series where we're going to watch an entire TV show through to the end, and we are watching Fringe, J.J. Abrams' follow-up to Lost. This came out in 2008, co-created by J.J. Abrams and Alex Kurtzman and Roberto Orci, who worked with him on the Star Trek movie.
There you go. Good stuff. Yeah, I remember when this show first came out, when Fringe first came out, and I was super excited because Lost was such a big hit. I know this started coming out later in Lost. I don't think it had wrapped up because I was in college when Lost wrapped up. So
this premiered in fall of 2008 and Lost ended in 2010. So there was a little bit of an overlap.
So it was like end of my high school career is when this show started coming out. And I was super excited for this show because, I super loved Lost. I thought that show was fantastic. And even though the show kind of took a hit on some ratings with the writers' strike and stuff like that, I was really into this show of like, here's this like sci-fi kind of X-Files show, but it is more like, it's not supernatural, right? It's more like this is it's weird science, as the name would imply. Fringe science. And it hit the right buttons for me at the time. And then I completely fell off of the show. Just completely stopped watching like after season 1 or like midway through season 1. I don't know if I got all the way in, but it was just like
that happened to me too. There's a lot of shows from around this period, like end of high school, beginning of college, that I really liked, but I had to just drop because of time concerns.
It's a transition.
And I think I got midway or maybe done with season 2. I didn't get very far in the show, but I've always wanted to go back to it.
Yeah,
we have to go back, as you will hear Jack say on Lost.
So I have seen the show now in its entirety. As you were like, hey, I want to go back and watch the show. That's what I did. I'm going to say around 2014-ish, 2013-ish. I was just like, you know what? I have some expendable cash, I'll buy all the Blu-rays of Fringe and I'll check it out because I know I liked what I saw,
Mm.
but for some reason I just stopped. And so yeah, I watched all 5 seasons. I love this show. I think it's fantastic. Um, I do think the show kind of takes a bit of a dip in the middle seasons. It kind of flounders a bit. But by the end, this show wraps up beautifully.
Oh,
Which is
good.
all I'll say because I know you have not seen it all yet. Um, so yeah, I think this is a fantastic show. I think season 1 especially is one of its better seasons.
Mm.
In just the amount of mystery, the amount of like drip feed, like the weird things that are going on that kind of tie in with everything else. And man, I just I have good memories watching this show when it originally came out. I have good memories when I watched the entire show. Good memories when I watched it this time because I was surprised at how much I actually like remembered of the show. It's
Good.
almost been a decade since I've watched this. So I was just like, man, I remember all of this. This is cool.
Mm. Yeah, this show always stuck with me aesthetically. I thought often of the big floating letters and of the
Yeah.
glyphs.
Yep.
Great to see those again.
Very
And
iconic.
it's got a really solid core cast of characters. I like that this was a procedural mystery solving team that had a familial feel to it. We've got a literal father and son there on the team, but that kind of expands and everybody does feel like they are this family unit.
Yeah. This was my first time seeing most of these actors, at least that I know of.
Yeah.
I think Lance Reddick, who plays Broyles, I now see him in everything, right?
He wasn't lost.
Yes, he was in Lost, but he had a much smaller part in
Tiny.
that. Yeah. And then he's in this show, and this was the first prominent show I saw him in. Of course, I then went back and I watched The Wire, and he's in that, and all sorts of stuff. Now he's in Destiny, the video game that's super popular. He's in all sorts of stuff. This is the first time I saw. This is the first time I saw Anna Torv in something. And to be honest, I haven't seen her in much since then. But I've loved everything she's done.
Yeah.
She's fantastic. She was more recently in Mind Hunter on Netflix.
Oh,
she's in that show, which is a really good one. They need to bring that back because it got canceled and it needed at least one more season to finish everything up.
There's more minds to hunt.
Exactly. And Kirk Ace Viedo is now like one of my favorite television actors. Just he plays. I don't want to say he plays similar characters, but he has a similar demeanor about him in all of his characters, and it's just there's something about him that I like. Like he's a likable actor, if that makes sense. But it's just like this was a very formative show for me.
Yeah, it's great to have a show that maybe has a couple familiar faces, but introduces you to more people you're going to love. I think I only knew John Noble was in the final Lord of the Rings movie as this mad king who dies in a very traumatic way, and he's great in that. I think I remember Joshua Jackson from commercials for Dawson's Creek. I never watched the show. I was too young for it, but the commercials I remembered. I remembered those actors' faces. And then, of course, Jessica Nicole went on to be on. She's the mayor of Night Vale.
Yeah, she also did a kind of Night Vale Productions, I think, or whoever makes those. She made another podcast called Alice Isn't Dead. And she was the main actor in that, and that was a good show too. So
Mm-hmm.
good
Great
stuff.
cast all around.
Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about this show. The pilot starts with a plane, and everybody on the plane, there's some virus that gets out. They all die in these gross, strange ways. The plane crashes because the pilot's dead. And FBI agent Olivia Dunham is brought in to look at the strange case. And she needs to consult a scientist named Dr. Walter Bishop, who did experiments with something similar to what happened like 20 years ago. But he has been institutionalized.
Mhm.
And so she has to go track down his son, who's like the only next of kin who can like get him out of this institution. And his son's gone off to leave. He's like a very smart. He like faked his way into MIT and did good there, but he is a con man. He is a criminal. So they end up forming this division, the subdivision within the FBI. Going back to Walter's old lab at Harvard, everything takes place in the basement of Harvard. You have to remember that while all this wacky science stuff is happening, there's kids going to like literature classes. They formed the Fringe Science Division to look at, similar to the X-Files, all the weird cases that the FBI gets, but everything that's specifically science weird. There's never like a ghost or an alien or anything. And a lot of stuff ties back to experiments Walter did with his old lab partner, Dr. William Bell, who has gone on to found is it Massive Dynamic?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, got to make sure I'm not missing it up with the big science business from Eureka, which is called like, that one's Global Dynamic, I think. They're very similar.
Massive global dynamics.
So a lot of things come back to this giant company who seems like they are doing, we don't know if it's malevolent, but definitely way more intense things with science than the public knows about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty standard like mystery of the week show, crime of the week show, but it is it's not necessarily a crime per se, but it's just a weird happening, a weird death, a weird sometimes there is murder, sometimes there is this and that, and a crime that is happening, but it always, as you said, involves some weird fringe science. It's very much like the X-Files. If you're a fan of that, you will probably enjoy this show. And it's good like network style television. It's enjoyable.
Out of these ongoing monthly series we've done, this is our first network show, and it's our first procedural, which I thought might be interesting to see how Case of the Week evolves as we watch this show through all 5 seasons. It's also the longest show we'll be watching to date. Everything else has just been 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Except for Venture Brothers, which is 7, but we fit that in only 3 episodes, only 3 months. Fringe is going to be most of our year.
Yeah. We'll be sticking with this one for a while, which will be good. So yeah, and I think if I'm not mistaken, it kind of puts us on pace to basically watch an episode of this every day for the next 5 months ish.
I have to take it every day like a vitamin.
Good stuff. Yeah, I cannot say enough good things about this show. It's fascinating. I love the characters. I love the cast of characters, not just the actors that play them, but the characters that they play.
Yes,
it makes for this real oddball group of characters. And despite this show being an X-Files like, which I think people often consider maybe a little creepier, a little darker, a little scarier, right? This show has that, but it also has these like lighter, funnier moments. It has, I know X-Files has this stuff too, but it has that. It has these more like touching character moments where you meet like someone's sister or someone's
Yeah.
family, or just like they have these moments where they maybe are flirting with each other a little bit. Maybe they're falling
Mm.
in love. Maybe they do this. Maybe they do
Yeah.
that. And it makes for a good show all around. On top of
Mm.
that, there's that almost lost style mystery of what's happening
Yeah.
here. I vaguely remember, and I don't know how true this is, but the iconography that they
Yeah.
used in this show, the frog with the Greek symbol on its back, the hand
Mhm.
print with the sixth finger, the
Mhm.
leaf with the like isosceles or the triangle.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
not sure what one it
yeah, I
is,
thought
but
it was just triangle, but according to Wikipedia, it is supposed to be the delta symbol.
there you go. If I'm not mistaken, I think there was some code that you were
Yes.
supposed to unravel with that, which I don't know what they
Yeah.
ever did with that. I,
According to the Wikipedia, let's see, which is a deep Wikipedia. This is dense. You can
there's a
learn so
lot of
much.
lore in this show.
Prior to commercial breaks, a brief image of a glyph is shown. Abrams revealed in an interview that the glyphs had a hidden meaning. The glyph code was cracked by an editor at the technology site Ars Technica, who discovered
Okay.
it to be a simple substitution cipher used to spell out a single thematic word for each episode. For example, the pilot, which is like a big hour-and-a-half long pilot, that one, and these are shown like at the end of each like act break, each commercial break. So that one is
Right.
8 of them. Spells out observer, which is a very
Oh,
important
interesting.
role within the show.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's always
that's cool.
a vague clue or something thematic to that episode. Yeah, and I always remembered these glyphs. No other show has ever done anything like shows will have secret codes and things, secret languages, but I've
Artemis
never seen a
Fowl.
show that has yeah, we always come back to it. I've never seen a show that has this like stamp at the end of every act break.
Yeah,
It's also got the incredible, instead of the like bottom third chyron telling you where you are, it's these massive 3-dimensional like floating letters in the scene that'll say like Boston Federal Building. And the show will play with them. Like sometimes the camera angle will switch and you will see them from the opposite side, like they truly exist there. Or if it's snowing in the scene, snow will like collect on top
on
of the
them,
letters.
just see it in reflections and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like J.J. Abrams was like, look, I made the Lost logo on accident. Can someone
Yeah.
take this but still use that style? Just a very
Yeah.
plain font. Just like I'm not sure what one they use, but like let's just go with Helvetica, right? Let's just put that in the environment. It's in there. It's big.
Yes.
It's massive. It's
Yes.
just bam. There it is. And it's neat. It's striking. This is a great show.
Yeah,
lots of good visual language.
it is. It's doing things I've never seen another show do. It's always stood out to me for that.
Indeed.
I'm very happy we get to talk about it.
Hell yeah. Well, let's take a quick break for housekeeping. And then when we get back, we'll get into spoilers and we can start diving into the show. So we will be right back. We put a lot of hard work into the shows that we make. And yes, we make multiple different shows here at The Whatnots. And we'd love it if you check them all out. You can find out more information on our website at thewhatnots.com, as well as your favorite podcasting platform of choice. When you type in The Whatnots, all of our shows will pop up right there. Just don't forget to give us a nice rating and review if you like the shows. If you want to support what we do here at The Whatnots, patreon.com/thewhatnots is the best place to do that. You can support us for as little as $1 a month. You can get all kinds of exclusive content at the $3 tier. You can also get a shout out and a thank you on all of our shows at the $5 tier. You can support us on Twitch by subscribing to our channel at twitch.tv/thewhatnots, and we would love to have you all join us for our live streams and talk with us in the chat. And lastly, we have merch. If you'd like to grab yourself a shirt or a sweatshirt or a mug or something else, go to thewhatnots.com/store to pick up some merch today. And we are back. A big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. We thank you so much for supporting us.
Thank
it means
you.
a ton. We could not do this without you. Cool things that we have been up to here at the Whatnots. Let's see. We recently did our trailer reaction to the Thor: Love and Thunder trailer, the first teaser trailer for that movie. We're super excited about that one. We also did if you want more Thor content, we covered the first two volumes of Thor: Goddess of Thunder by Jason Aaron here on the review show last week. So if you guys want to go find out who that Thor is, that woman, who is she? What's up with her? What's her deal? And you guys can find out that info on the stuff we did last week. That's been a lot of fun. On crossplay, PlayStation has recently announced their tiered package of they're mixing PlayStation Plus and PlayStation Now. You guys can go hear about all of that stuff on crossplay. That was actually a couple weeks ago, but last thing I'll say for housekeeping is that we have changed the times of two of our podcasts. Crossplay is now recording on Tuesdays, which means that it will go live. It will be out publicly for people on Fridays. And then the Captain's Log, we are now recording on Wednesdays, which means it will be out to the public on Saturdays. So there you go. Keep that in mind. I have to fix some of our the outro thing on our TikToks. That's new episode every this day. It's now the wrong days.
Yeah.
So I have to go fix those. But yeah, that should be about it for housekeeping. Without further ado, let's get into spoilers. We are in spoilers. Did you know that William Bell was being played by Spock there?
I did.
Yeah.
I remembered that. I remember that specifically. You hear his voice in a video, and it's deep and it's gravelly, but if you know Leonard Nimoy, you're like, that's him.
Yeah.
And then you finally see him step dramatically out of the shadows. The episode itself, the filming of it, drags this out until he fully steps into the light. But at the beginning of the episode, the credits were special guest appearance by Leonard Nimoy. And you're like, gee, is he playing this character who we've heard about for 20 straight episodes?
Right, yeah. That it's such a weird thing in the show because, he's an iconic actor, an iconic celebrity. People do kind of know his voice. He has a pretty distinct voice. And so to get that, but then to have the show just constantly push it back that you don't see him, he's not here, he's not in the country, he's this and that. It feels
he's not in the dimension,
right? It feels like it's supposed to be this big twist or this big reveal. And in a ways it is that they got him to play this character, but it almost isn't a twist. It's just all right, cool, we got to meet him. Finally.
I think as we are going to get to other twists further on down the line, where I guess this is a spoiler alert for this show at large because this doesn't happen in this season. But we do meet alternate universe Olivia, faux Olivia, as I remember her being called, who's just Anna Torv but brunette. So there are surprises with, this is a face I've seen before. Yeah. So I guess they varied up. This is a face you've seen before, just not on the show. It's Spock who you know from things. You heard his voice on a Christmas ornament.
Indeed. Yeah. I like that. It's interesting that they positioned that moment in that way. but it like I like the kind of pageantry that they're giving him. Like, you guys,
Mm.
you know this actor. This is a special moment, but it's also, it just lands flat to me. Like, the one thing that I don't like about this season in particular is that
Mm.
the finale was awful. I
It's
mean, it's
it's
not
fine, but
it's a fine episode of the show, but that was it. It was just an episode of the show, and it was just like,
yeah,
there
it
was
doesn't.
nothing in this.
It Yeah, the premiere, like the season premiere, the pilot that they made is really impressive, and maybe that's where they focus their time on energy. Like, it's this extra long episode, and yeah, the season finale is just, it's a solid episode, but it doesn't have a lot of as much weight to it as you would
Yeah.
have expected. It doesn't feel like a special occasion. We do get some twists in it. Olivia goes to an alternate dimension, and we find that this dimension's Peter died, and Walter got another Peter from another dimension. That's
Yep.
love.
Yep. They haven't like explicitly stated it yet, but all the pieces are right there, and it is
Yeah, yeah,
obvious. Yeah.
yes.
Um,
Yeah, I suppose you could also look at this and think, oh, he brought Peter back from the dead.
yeah. I mean, well, like, that is like what they're trying to potentially lead you to believe through
Mm.
most of this season, that, hey, there's something different about Peter, right? There's something up
Yeah.
with him. What happened? And his dad isn't really saying, but because it's a very touching emotional thing. And you hear there was an accident, there was like some
Yeah.
traumatic event, and it's like, okay,
Yeah, and he's
did he
and
die?
Walter's saying, when you were a boy, you were very sick, and Peter's like, I don't remember this. I don't remember this at all, Dad.
Yeah. I think there's even a moment early on where he like mentions his eye color, and it does like an up close face, and it's a completely different eye color. And so yeah, there's a bunch of like little hints throughout the entire thing, but yeah, they lead you on this mystery of what is up with Peter, what happened to him,
Yeah.
why does he not remember his childhood, or what Walter says is his childhood.
Mm.
What happened? Did he die? Did he come back to life?
Yeah.
Was he experimented on? Like, all that
Yeah.
stuff. And yeah, by the end, you're like, okay, something did happen. I think he did die, and I think Walter stole another Peter from another dimension.
Just a twist I love. They really lay the groundwork out for this in these very subtle ways. Like in the episode where they find that observer child in the depths of an abandoned building, and the team's trying to
Yeah.
care for the child, like, as they have to do experiments on this weird kid, of course. But they all treat the child very nicely. He gets like a little moment with everybody. Like, Olivia gives him her sweatshirt, and Astrid shows him a Looney Tune, and
Candy, yeah.
Peter gives him an old G.I. Joe toy to play with, as much as this strange child can understand play. And he hands him some little action figure. I don't remember the specific guy's name, but he says, he's not one of the top tier G.I. Joes, but he's the best one we had. And Peter's looking at this and he says, that's funny. I always remembered his scar being on the other side of his face.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even in these tiny ways, they're laying it out. They're giving you all of these hints. And it's a nice mystery, and it's a very fascinating emotional conundrum that Walter missed his son so badly that he got an opposite Walter's opposite son from an opposite world. And what did that family do? Did his
Yeah.
wife know anything about this? We know practically nothing about Peter's mother. We don't know if she's dead or alive, what life she was like. Was she also a scientist?
Yeah. The show, I feel like, does a great job of trickling out these mysteries, because you have the one with Peter. We also have Olivia, of
Yeah.
her, not only as she's following these like weird series of events that they have come to know as the pattern,
Mm-hmm.
but starting to figure out that maybe she is somehow involved in the pattern, and that, these are all leading back to experiments that Walter and William Bell did back in the who knows what, the 60s or 70s. Um, and like or maybe not even that far back, but
I think like the early to mid 80s.
yeah. It all leads back to these experiments, and one of the places they were doing these experiments was in Jacksonville, Florida, where Olivia grew up. And
Yeah.
things keep kind of coming back to her, and there's a connection to her. And why is she? Was I involved in these experiments?
Yeah.
And then turns out, yep, she was. She has a heightened mental ability, psychic ability. Like she's not psychic per se. She's not like she doesn't have telekinesis. The VHS tape they show would lead you to believe she has pyrokinesis, but she doesn't know it or doesn't know how to control it. Like doesn't even know that she has it. So it's just this idea of like she's connected to this somehow, some way, and she's figuring that out while we the viewer are figuring out this whole thing about Peter. And yeah, there's good mysteries all around. What's happening? Where is William Bell? Who is
what are these observers?
Yeah, the observers are fantastic.
I remembered the observers, but I didn't. And like they appear in the background of every episode, even if they're not like clearly visibly there playing a part in the story.
They're an extra.
You could like
somewhere.
screenshot a crowd. Yeah. And there's like a bald guy in a hat standing in the background of every episode, which is delightful. They waste no time in making the observer as weird as possible. The observer is introduced in like the first handful of episodes as he's a strange looking man, completely hairless, like no eyebrows either. Very odd and formal, seems out of place, out of time. He goes to this diner and he orders this sandwich that's like, I want the rarest meat you have and like cover it in pepper. He just eats the most bizarre sandwich and everybody's staring at him. Like, yeah, we're going this hard this early. We are not slowly doling out this guy's weirdness to you immediately. This is an alien man.
Yeah. Not an actual alien, but like it just he's so strange that he's just like, this guy's not human. Like, what is this thing? And yeah, we will learn a lot more about him down the road. But in his mannerisms, in the way he talks, he's very like proper. He stands up straight. The way he speaks is it's not incomplete, but it is also very strange. It's direct. It's to the point. It's sort of broken, but not in a way that like, oh, he's speaking a foreign language.
Yeah, you get the sense that this is a person who does not speak often. Like they don't quite know how to do it.
Right, just very socially awkward. And yeah, he's there in every episode. If he does not have a speaking role, which is very few of them, you can see him just in a crowd, just walking by while some strange science event is happening. And he's there just observing it all. And yeah, there's that one, as you mentioned, where they find a child version of him stuck in this hole in this the inside of a building that has been sealed off for like 70 something years, they said.
Yeah, just some sub basement.
Yeah, and who knows how it got there? How long it's been there? But he's been there. And yeah, he is this child, just again completely bald, no hair on his head, no eyebrows, and just a weirdo, man. Like, but I don't know there's almost nothing
Mhm.
that season one gives you of just about them besides they're weird. Look at them.
Yeah.
They're weird.
They're weird, and you don't get the sense that they are a villainous force. They seem like they are perhaps like the Watchers, forbidden to interfere. Like,
Mhm.
well, the one of them, Walter tells the story that when Peter was little, presumably before he got sick, that they were driving to like Thanksgiving dinner during a bad storm, and like their car like went off a bridge through like plunged into this icy lake, and Walter thought they were going to die, and then there was an observer who hauled them out of the water and was like, now that I've done this for you, I will need to call upon you in the future for a favor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they're not like conniving. They're not trying to get anything out of anybody. They are seemingly trying to achieve a state of like equilibrium in the world.
Something like that. Yeah. Um, yeah. There's so many mysteries in this. I want to talk briefly about Jared Harris's character
Yes.
in this, because this was the first time I saw him as an actor too. And I think I mentioned this last week or something when we mentioned him. I don't remember what podcast we were on. But yeah, Jared Harris is in this show. What's his character's name? David Robert Jones, right?
David. Yeah, which I heard is apparently that was David Bowie's birth name.
Oh, interesting. Weird.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, he plays this character who is more of an antagonist in the show.
Mhm.
I remember watching this season for the first time as it was coming out, and his character scared me. Like I was terrified of his character. I don't know what it was about his performance. I just yeah, he got underneath my skin, and I just
He's an
watching it that
intense
first
man.
time. Yeah, it just and it's not just him acting, because he's a phenomenal actor.
Mm,
Um, but it's the way they lit him, the situations they put
yeah.
him in. Like he's just in these really shady situations, and then by the end
Mm.
of the show, he's like his skin is kind of melting or burning off because of the
Yeah.
radiation poisoning that he's gotten from
'Cause
teleportation. Um,
yeah, I
and
liked that. I like that he teleports himself out of jail, but the cost is that there's radiation in this process, and like, buddy, you're gonna melt.
Yeah, yeah, and they've prolonged it, but like he then by the end of the show has his head completely wrapped in these bandages,
Yeah.
almost like the Invisible Man, which
Mhm.
in an odd way is kind of what his character is. Uh, he is somewhat of a tragic character because it turns out he was one of the first employees at Massive
Mm.
Dynamic, and was super smart. He was one of the rising stars and ended up being fired. I don't know if they said exactly why he was fired, but he was
Mm.
causing problems, just in his ambition, and I think his lack of morality, right? Of just like, oh,
Mhm.
we don't need to worry about public safety and all that stuff. It's
Yeah.
science. Let's
Yeah.
just go. And so yeah, he got hired, and so this whole like all of the stuff that he's been doing in these like antagonistic roles, these like weird science experiments, has been to try and get the attention of William Bell, to try and find him, to go get him and prove like, look at me, like I can do this stuff. I swear, like I know what I'm doing. And like he doesn't get seen by
Mhm.
him, right? So in a weird way, he is kind of the Invisible Man of the show,
Mhm.
right? Um, that's an interesting thought there. But yeah,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
he's a scary character. I was terrified by
He
him.
is.
Bravo to
This
Jared Harris.
always, every time. This show is less. We compare it frequently to the X-Files, which
Mhm.
everyone does, and I think the show is. It's very aware that it is another X-Files, and the X-Files is an archetype. It is a structure that you could have a lot of. I'd love if we just continually had an X-Files that isn't the X-Files.
Yep.
It's a
Yep.
lot less horror based, but there are some very striking, startling scenes in the show, like when all those butterflies come out of the vent and cut the man to death because their wings are sharp,
Yeah.
or when that bomb goes off in that bus and it like encases the bus in amber and everybody is just frozen there in terror. And I think one of the best, maybe the best episode of the season is the Bad Dreams episode, which
Yeah.
starts off with the eeriest cold open where it's just Grand Central Station, late at night. It's almost completely empty. It's so quiet. And this woman has got her little kid in a stroller with like some balloons tied to it. Like they just left a carnival or a fair or something. And she's like singing the song to her kid, is like the only voice in this giant silent building.
Mhm.
It's so minimal. They're so small against this big architecture, and they go down in the depths of the subway station. And her kid's like playing with the balloons and unties one of the balloons from the stroller, and it like floats up, and the mom's trying to like reach out and grab it. And then you see out of nowhere Olivia push her off the
Right.
subway station into the oncoming train. And then you see Olivia wake up in a start in her bed. Like she's had a nightmare. And that's the episode that somebody is killing people and Olivia is seeing it through their eyes when she's asleep. Like she is the person doing it. It's,
Mhm.
that's a very
Yeah.
unnerving episode.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's because she is through most of that she knows something is wrong, she knows something's up, but then she
Mm,
kind of convinces herself that she's the one killing these people and
hmm
can't
hmm
figure out like how to stop it, how to stop her. And by the end, we learn it's not actually her, but
hmm
she is seeing someone else's dreams and is just like imprinting herself on that
Yeah.
person in the dream. Um,
hmm
so yeah, I mean that is terrifying. I think the one that was terrifying for me, I mean, there's tons of them, but like the one that I thought they did a great job of, which is also the show's coming out post 9/11,
Mm,
all that stuff. So anything having to do with planes and stuff like that
yes.
is a big scare in general. But the one of the guy who gets the nosebleed
Yeah.
and has run out of these drugs and like goes to the flight attendants and it's like, hey, you guys need to stop me. Like something is wrong. I don't feel good. I'm out of my get all the sedatives you have. If you have guns, if you have a weapon, get them now because you need to lock me in. That thing,
Yes.
and they don't know how to respond exactly because
Mm,
it's a weird situation to have this
yeah.
normal looking guy just be like, hey, I'm gonna need drugs, a lot of them. Something is about to happen. Lock me in. Don't answer it. Like, don't open it up.
Mhm.
Like, keep me in the bathroom and do what you need to do to land the plane.
Mhm.
And they're just like, okay, sir, like, go sit back down. We'll deal with this. Um, and yeah, so he goes in the bathroom and they do this thing which is a nice touch and it helps them to make the kind of computer animation of this blend in a little bit
Yeah.
more where someone is talking in the foreground and that's what the focus is on in the scene But in the background of that, you see the door of the bathroom pop off, and then this like
Yeah.
giant like Sonic the Hedgehog looking monster thing just come charging out super fast and just starts
Yes.
wreaking havoc. But it cuts off real fast too, so you just see a glimpse of this like and yeah, that was terrifying. The way that it just busts out of the bathroom and immediately everyone is horrified. It's just like there's nothing you can do in that situation. There's nowhere you can run. You just have to sit there and take it, and that's awful. It's terrifying.
Yeah. There's a lot of emotions behind this show. It's often sad. There's often a melancholy feel to it, particularly with Walter, who has lost so many memories. He's just sort of become, I don't know, through like natural mental illness, or there's a side effect of some experiment or something, or just the trauma of being in this institution alone for so long without Peter pretty much abandoned him, never came to see him. They've always had a kind of strained relationship. Yeah, he's forgotten so many things, and he's like aware that he is forgetting things. And it's often something that's also played for humor. I think they get a lot out of Walter's situation for laughs, for your heart. It's well balanced, I think, where he'll continually ask, like they're talking to him about like a science experiment, or like, we found this weird body. Walter, what do you think's going on? What's in your mind? And he's like, root beer floats. Yeah. Right. I haven't had a root beer float in years. But like then he'll get one and he's like, this reminds me of something, and he'll eventually get to whatever the answer is. And like he's he'll like walk out nude or something like that. He just doesn't, he's not aware of himself and his surroundings.
Milking a cow and just being like, who wants milk?
God, I love that the office is a cow. I love that her name is Jean. I love that.
Jean the cow.
She's part of the family. But there's an episode where after Walter's gotten out of this institution, and Peter's, he's a con man. He's traveling around the world. The two of them are like living in this hotel for the time being. And Olivia goes to see them late one night, and Peter's like, okay, I'm going to stay out here, talk to Olivia. Walter, you go ahead, go up to bed. And he's like, remember, Walter, red toothbrush is mine. Don't use it. And then Walter says, with this incredible line reading from John Noble, he says, white for Walter. That's me.
Yeah, that's me.
Like there's
he's so
there's
happy.
like a certain
That's me.
There is like a joy of it. Like, that one's mine. I get this. I know the code. I see what's going on here. But there's also a little bit of sadness that he's aware that he has to rely on.
That he has to remember that. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He has to use these very elementary mnemonics to remember basic things like which toothbrush is his.
Yeah.
There's a lot of emotional layers in the show. And we don't know facts about the characters as much. By the end of the season, do we know anything about Astrid except for like once she mentions that like she studied computer science in college and liked code books when she was a kid? We've got our 2 Astrid facts. Yeah. But like we still emotionally know her. Like we know how she's going to react in a situation. They've got
indeed
the emotions of all of their characters down in this season very early. You get what everybody's dynamic is.
Yeah. Yes, you will learn more about Astrid down the road. Yeah, she is a great character. I like her a lot. It is also unfortunate for her that Walter can never remember her name, and it's just like, you ass wipe or whatever your name is.
He calls her Astro.
Astro.
He can't it takes him a couple episodes for him to lock in consistently remembering who this person is, and like episode 2 or 3 he's like, who is that? They're like, that's Astrid, she's been here the whole time, she's part of our team. And he can't get her name down. For a while, he just calls her Miss. Like he's admitted, I'm not going to remember what your name is. But, so he chooses to call her Miss instead because that's not wrong.
Right. Yeah, she's fantastic. But yeah, John Noble in this show, man.
Yes.
You said there's a lot that revolves around him, both story wise and
Mhm.
emotionally. And yeah,
Mhm.
he is one of the more tragic characters because of his memory
Yes.
loss.
Yes.
He is one of the more comedic characters because of his memory loss
Mhm.
and the strange places that it leads him
Mhm.
to. Yeah, where he just randomly wants a root beer float or
Mhm.
remembers something about a bank or who knows what,
Mhm.
just has some random fact of like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, cotton candy. Like I remember
Yes,
cotton candy.
or he keeps Peter up all night, like, reciting the Fibonacci sequence.
Yeah. Um, like just like what an amazing performance by John Noble.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, we all know that he's a phenomenal actor, but like, man, just to it's almost like oh god, what's his name? The X-Men actor, the guy who was in Split. Um,
Oh, James McAvoy.
yes, it's almost like his character in Split, where he's like going back and forth with these
Oh.
different
Oh.
personalities, except it's not a different personality. He's so fractured mentally that, right, like there's the moments where he's sad and melancholy, there's
Mhm.
the moments where there's the moments where he's lucid and
Yeah.
is almost scary when he's lucid because he is
Yes,
kind of this
sometimes
mad
he is.
scientist, right?
Yeah.
But then yeah, there are these comedic moments where he's happy and he's singing. Like when he has to do the little song and dance for the young
Oh,
observer guy, and
yeah.
he's dancing.
I
He's
love
so
that.
happy. Like he's
Like,
having
he's
so
still
much
a
fun.
Yes, he's still a father, and he still sees that, like, this is a strange child. We don't know what they've been through. Like, we need to do more experiments on them to
But he's
understand
still a
them. But he's
kid.
like, yeah, let's do a song and dance for the kid. He's like, I want to make the kid happy. I want to make the kid feel safe here.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you were talking about X-Men, I thought you were going to talk about Patrick Stewart in Logan, how he's
Oh.
kind of
It,
losing focus on things and memories are running
yeah.
through his head, and he doesn't have a
Interesting. Yeah.
clear grasp on anything.
Yeah. No, not what I was referring to, but yeah, that's a good example.
Mhm.
A similar character for sure.
Yeah. I the episode with the Observer kid, I think it's a great mystery hook. We find this kid who's been in the sub basement that's been locked away for 60 years, but he's clearly 12. What's he doing there?
Yeah.
How'd he get there? But you've also got that emotional angle of everybody in the team is like trying to reach out to this kid to comfort this kid. The characters have a lot of emotional awareness. Like Peter is very sarcastic, very cynical, but he's also got a lot of care for other people. Like most of Peter's dialogue is
He's-
like, okay,
He
Walter,
secretly
we've heard
loves
enough.
people.
Yes, yeah, like he's always exasperated with Walter. He's rolling his eyes at things. He's like, oh, don't tell me about that. Don't tell me about this girl you dated in the 1940s. But after all of his bank of like standard quips, like the most common thing Peter says is he turns to Olivia and is just like, you okay? He's
Yeah.
always checking in with people. He does have a lot of empathy in him, and he's not in he's never trying to like rush in and be a knight in shining armor or anything, but he
Yeah.
always is there for people. Like in the Bad Dreams episode, like he'll just reach out and like sort of rub Olivia's shoulder. Like there's episodes where like she'll go into a dangerous situation and he's like, you're not going in there alone, not to like put her down or to put himself up. Cause like he did, like, I think he's aware, like she's an FBI agent. I'm not, I don't know how to do what she does. He's like, I don't want you to go in there alone because you are my friend. I care about you. If you're going to be in danger, I feel like you should have somebody there with you. We should do it together.
Yeah, you're right. And I think now that I'm like trying to process it and think about it, I think it's because he's a con man. he understands
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which is what you need to understand people to be a successful con man, because you have to play them. You have to play on
Mhm.
their emotions, what they're feeling. You have to know that. You have to recognize it. You have to anticipate it. And he's good at that. Like he knows
Yeah.
how to handle people. And
Mhm.
I said that he secretly loves people. I think that's still true, but like it's I don't know if it's as secret as he thinks it is, because it's
Mm.
also part of his charm
Yeah.
that he
Yeah.
is partly the like mysterious bad boy, right? He's a con man. He faked his way
Yeah.
into MIT. He's tall,
Yeah.
dark, and handsome, right?
But I also have to say, I love that Joshua Jackson is not that handsome.
You're right. He is not the like super chiseled like Josh Holloway from Lost, or just
Yes,
can cut
exactly.
someone with his chin, right?
Right.
But like he seems like an everyday normal guy, which
Yeah.
adds to his charm, which makes him able to blend in and be more of a con man in a
Mhm.
weird way, right? He's
Yeah.
just like, he doesn't look like a celebrity
Yeah.
in this. He's just a normal person. But yeah, he's empathetic. He understands people. He likes doing that, whether for good or bad. But it seems like he's mostly out of the, like, he's out of the smaller stuff, because when the show picks him
Yeah.
up, he's trying to make like oil like business deals out in Iraq. Like, he's onto some
Yeah.
big shit. Like, he's not like small time in it with the mob out in
Yeah.
Boston or who knows what.
Yeah. It's clear that he is very competent at whatever crime he is doing.
Yeah, which is because you were like, he recognizes that he is not an FBI agent, that he can't do what Olivia is doing. And I agree with that to an extent. He can do some of that stuff, but just in his own way.
Yeah.
And yeah, he ends up just being this really street smart, competent person that will constantly surprise you with,
Yes.
well, if we need to get into this thing, or if we need that, I know a guy. He is the I know a guy character,
Yes.
right?
Several times throughout the series, we go and see a guy he knows.
And we're not done with that either. He will
No.
continue to be like, I know
look
a guy.
forward to seeing the parade of guys. A really touching moment is in one of the last episodes of the season, where there's these people who have been experimented on. When they get emotionally agitated, they heat up. Like, we see a woman spontaneously combust, and they go to an apartment where one of these people had been kidnapped, and we see that their heat had like warped the glass in one of the windows.
Yeah.
And Peter's got the idea of, let's cut. He takes this like cat burglar tool and cuts a circle of the window out.
He had to go,
and he's like,
and I'm not sure if that was like in the car that he had it, or like he knew of the guy just happened to live down the street. He's like, hey Jimmy, I got a job for you.
It's his everyday carry bag. He's like, I got some Cliff Bars, I have chapstick, and I've got one of those cat burglar window cutting tools. Every day. But he's like, if the heat was warping this, maybe we've got like the grooves on a record. We have the imprints of what people were saying in this room when this kidnapping took place. And he's like, I've got this experiment I've been working on my own. He's trying to make this special record player that will like, or this computer attachment that will like visually scan a record, digitize the grooves, and it'll be able to like convert it into sound waves and play it digitally, because he knows Walter has strong memories of these old records he would listen to. Like, that's one of the few things he can like really grab onto, that he's always very lucid about, is this music he's enjoyed. And like, a lot of those records have just been damaged over the years. So he did this like just so that his dad could listen to the old music that he loved. And then it just happens to be useful in a case. And when he's like, I wasn't ready to tell you this, Walter, but I've been working on this, Walter's so touched And
Yeah.
Peter is touched that he is touched. He looks proud that he made his dad happy.
Yeah. Wait till he hears about Spotify. Though. That's going to be the big thing, right? Where just like, what? I did all this work.
Oh, there's another episode where Walter keeps singing Christmas carols to like lodge some memory loose in his brain. Like he's like, I know there's something I'm forgetting that is important to solving this case. I've got like something about it is tied to Christmas carols in my head. And he keeps singing carols to like jog that memory. Singing them all day. And there's a scene where Olivia walks into the lab and Peter and Astrid are sitting there sharing a pair of earbuds to block out Walter singing. And I love that they have that connection with each other. Like they've got that friendship where it's like, we're in this together. We both deal with Walter. We were both responsible for caring for him and putting up with him. And we're like, we're both shutting ourselves away from this. It's earbud time.
This is
it's such a sweet Yeah, such a sweet, odd, like intimate moment to like share a pair of earbuds. No other procedural crime solving team would do this.
Right. It's interesting because this is another show that doesn't necessarily tell you how much time has progressed between cases.
Yes. Yeah.
Sometimes
we just know that it's
a day, sometimes it's a week, sometimes it's 2 or 3 weeks.
It's snowing in the pilot and then it's still snowing in like episode 13. And that's all I know. That's the only sense of time is when it is snowing and when it is not.
But it's so I mentioned that because like we don't get to see all of the kind of non-Fringe related moments between these characters. So we don't necessarily get to see all of the relationships. And you kind of immediately jump to, oh, they're sharing the headphones to block out the Christmas carols that Walter keeps singing. We don't know if they just have like they're on their lunch and they're like they just have a shared love for the Beatles, right? And they're just listening to the Beatles together. Like, maybe that's it. There must
be something that they both agree to listen to. Like they both want to hear the same audiobook.
They're researching some like thing that they've downloaded, some TED Talk as an MP3, and they're listening to that to like get them up to speed on who knows whatever science thing. Maybe Peter's teaching her something, or she's teaching him something. Yeah, like
he's like, you should also learn Farsi. We'll talk in secret, and Walter won't understand us.
Exactly, and we just don't know. But I guess I have multiple points with that. Is one, we don't know what exactly that is. We don't know if that was to block out how close of friends they are. Like we know they're not like romantically interested in one another, but like it's just this weird thing of just like we don't get to see like they make mention when Walter goes missing towards the end of this season. They're like, oh, did you check the aquarium thing at Harvard? Because he likes to go down there at night and help clean out the cases with whoever the janitor is. Yeah,
like, him and Mrs. Fredrickson will clean tanks all night. I'm like, that sounds adorable. We never see this, but I'm so happy to imagine that he goes and does this, that Walter has made a friend here among the Harvard staff.
Right. Yeah. He has a life. He has things that we don't see. And that just means that the same is probably true for the rest of the characters. Like, I mean, Peter kind of potentially getting a little bit romantically interested in Olivia's sister. It kind of comes out of nowhere. And it's like, well, again, we don't know how much time has really passed. Like, have they had like game nights at the house that we don't know about? Or have they gone bowling as like a group bowling thing there?
I hope so.
With
I hope that we missed like It was like Walter's birthday one week, and that's what he wanted to do. Is he wanted the whole
Let's
lab
go
to go
bowling.
bowling.
Peter, one year I took you to bowling when you were 7 years old. You ate so much pizza that you threw up in the bathroom, right? Like,
Yes.
yeah, like he would have some story like that. But yeah,
Mhm.
there's just as emotionally invested as you get in these characters, and as good of a job as this show does to get you involved, there's so much that we don't see.
Yes. Yeah.
Not that I think it's necessary. It's not important, right? Because again, the show is
Mhm.
successful in making you like these characters. You don't
Mm.
need it from an emotional standpoint. You don't need it from a story, like a
Mhm.
plot standpoint. But it's just one of those things of I like them so much. I kind of want to know more. Just
Yes.
like
There's
I
a
just
moment like
more.
sometime like past the midway point of the series. I forget exactly what episode it's in, but Astrid turns to Olivia and says like, "Hey, I know we haven't known each other for very long, but," and she like offers an observation on like something Olivia's going through in that episode, or gives her some advice. And like, why don't we have more Astrid and Olivia one-on-one time? I want to see them be friends.
Absolutely.
There's so many different angles you can play with in this show.
Absolutely. I want to talk about kind of the main threat of this show
Okay.
here. We haven't really touched on that much yet. So as the show kind of progresses and they are exploring the pattern, this weird string of scientific events, we learn that there is this kind of terrorist organization out there going by the name of ZFT. And that they are the ones kind of orchestrating a lot of these events, these science experiments, these things that the Fringe division is investigating. And we eventually learn that ZFT, which is an abbreviation for some German words, I think, that I don't know, but it translates to destruction through the advancement of technology or something like that. And yeah, I think one of the better twists in this show, which you could have kind of seen coming, is when Walter looks at this manifesto and something jogs his memory, and he's on a mission to find something, and he pulls out this typewriter and he starts typing out the same sentence, and the Y in the manifesto is like slightly pushed upwards, like a superscript thing of like, hey, here's an asterisk, here's one, but it's not. It's just like slightly pushed up.
Yeah.
This typewriter does the same thing, and I don't know where I heard this, in what fiction, in what movie, or if this is just naturally true, but that all typewriters are unique in that sense, that like if one like so it is this like damning thing of like, whoever wrote this manifesto wrote it on this typewriter.
This was a plot point in an old episode of the Brady Bunch that I remember very specifically from when I was a kid. Like, one of the girls is getting secret admirer love notes that are typed out, and like the F is out of alignment, and they realize that's Alice's typewriter, and she was writing one of these girls' notes to like boost their confidence. Yeah. It came back. I'm like, wow, that must be true. That wasn't just a Brady Bunch invention.
It's something that I feel like I have absorbed through osmosis, just like in pop culture, that like typewriters are like snowflakes. Like they're all unique.
Yeah.
They all have
Yeah.
they're like fingerprints, right? They're unique to that specific one. So yeah, you can kind of infer that like, oh, this manifesto was probably written by Walter and William Bell. And then we find out that there's a chapter missing, and it's a chapter on ethics and morality. And all of that stuff. But like the mystery of ZFT and this upcoming war that they are preparing for is this kind of looming threat on the entire show. And to be honest, it's also kind of one of my complaints, or not ZFT specifically, but the way in which everything ties back to Walter and all of the characters play dumb, that like, I wonder, like, what could this be about? And like, no one thinks to be like, Walter, did you do anything like this back in the day? Like, no one thinks to ask him first.
Yeah,
and they all just
after like,
okay, we need to investigate. We need to do police work here. We need to like,
I
figure
feel
this
like
out. And then at the end, it's just like, oh, Walter, why did you say anything?
After 3 of those, that should always be your first question: is did Walter do this once? Is this science stolen from Walter?
Exactly. The pattern is that it all points to Walter. And no one has put that together yet. None of them. And so, yeah, you would think that like by the end of season 1, they would just immediately go to Walter or just start investigating him and all of the work that he did back then. Where are your notes? We need to go through all of this stuff. Who were the people you experimented on? What were the experiments you did? Because if we know what you did, the pattern has been that someone is taking your failed experiments and improving them, continuing them, right?
Yeah.
And you would think that's what they would do, but it's not. They just ignore it, which is I'm just like sitting here like, ask Walter. I'm pulling at my hair, just like he knows something. Come on.
Yeah. I understand that that there is a repeating pattern in them investigating the pattern. It's like, do you see this? Do you want to change your investigation methods?
I think it reads more like that when you can binge it, right? Like we can, because this obviously, Netflix was still doing DVDs. I think they maybe like had just started their streaming service, so who knows if this was on there, right? But like it's what I understand. Like we didn't really have the technology to binge it all unless you waited for a single season to be complete and then you bought the DVDs. So you had to watch this week to week, and there were still like the shows that you had to be that were like appointment viewing. You had to watch every single one. It was still few and far between. Lost was kind of a big factor in that. That was one of. I'm not willing to say it was the first, but maybe one of the first, and certainly the largest in a long time, to start this. Like everyone had to watch Lost, and then that's all you talked about for the week. And then you got there an hour early before the new one, so that you could watch the Lost, the one from last week again, and it had the like commentary underneath it, and you get all the extra little bits. Like there was a different culture around the time of that stuff. So I think it also plays into, well, maybe not everyone has seen every episode, and we have to explain the pattern again. We have to explain that Walter has amnesia. And we have to explain that, right? I don't like the idea of everyone's comic is someone's first, right? They just kind of had to re-explain all of this stuff. um, which I don't feel like they do as much nowadays. But again, I guess I don't really watch as much network television
Yeah.
anymore. So I don't know. I don't know, but it's an interesting show to
Mm.
say the least.
There's one final thing I need to talk about, and it was one of the things that really impressed me about the show when it first came on, and
Sure.
something that I have remembered as the years have gone on, which is that it's just how Olivia is styled. Anna Torv, beautiful. Olivia, not remotely glamorous. Olivia, she's got this long, straight blonde hair with like practically no layers to it, and it's always pulled
Hmm.
back from her face in a plain ponytail. She
Yeah.
wears like just plain suit clothes. Like she's so practical and ordinary in all of the ways that she is styled. And I think that's a really great service to that character, that they didn't attempt to dress her up in any way that she would not dress herself up. If she's so busy tackling all these FBI cases, she's so
Yeah.
straightforward and to the point. Yeah, she's not going to have like time to curl her hair or put on mascara or like pick out. Why would she wear heels? You know, why would she have jewelry? She's so
Yeah. Yeah,
plain in a
she's
way
a
that I
career
think is,
woman.
yeah. I think it's such a great choice that really serves that character, has a lot of purpose behind it. And of course, if they chose to style her up, we would have a different Olivia. We would have, and perhaps those choices would
Right.
also have more meaning for the character. But I like this choice that they made to have her be relatively plain. And it's like what I was saying earlier, that Joshua Jackson is not very handsome. It makes the cast feel really down to earth, really approachable. And it makes other
Yeah.
characters like Nina Sharp really stand out, that she's got this sharp like haircut that you know she gets maintained every month. She's got makeup, she's got these glamorous outfits on, and all of that means something for her character. That tells you a lot about who she is and how she views her life. And it makes her stand out from everybody else, like Olivia or like Astrid, who just wears these very practical clothes everywhere they go,
Yeah.
just like sensible blouses and sweaters. That Nina Sharp is wearing
Yeah.
this like the black designer wear.
Yeah. I think on top of that, to see Dunham matched with Broyles, right? There's an investigation into their division in most of this season, and one of the things that keeps coming up is that Olivia is emotionally involved, and
Mm,
I think they did a good job in not pointing to, oh well, she's a woman, of course she's emotionally involved, but they give other reasons why she is emotionally involved. But yes, she often reacts emotionally in situations. And Broyles is just the stiffest suit, unemotional, barely reacts to things with his face. And it just the way that those two play off one another in that sense, it is this like, well, because one does this thing, it heightens the other one in
yeah.
that. It makes Olivia seem so emotional when she goes to him and keeps interrupting him and just being like, we need this. I need to go now. Like all of this stuff. And he's just like, back off. I
Yeah.
agree with you. Right. And it's just so plain. So like, I'm on your side. And just, or when he like is there witnessing the weird thing. And again, Peter is just like, oh, Walter, don't tell me that. Like,
Yeah.
he reacts in a very normal way, and then you see Philip, and he's just like, okay, you guys got this.
Yes.
Good. Cool. And just walks away.
Yeah, like he's bred that out of himself long ago, being in the position he's in. It's up to like Charlie to be the one who's like, huh? Like Charlie's got the like Jim Halpert turn to the camera reactions out of the FBI team.
He does, but he doesn't. Like, he's not one to, because Clark Vito as an actor, like I said at the start, is one of my favorites, but always
Yeah.
has a
Yes.
similar demeanor. He is often very serious when he does his stuff. Like, he is not the emotional, like, what the hell is going on? Looks
Yeah,
right in the camera, right? Like,
They don't play Charlie for the absolute fool. Like, he's not like the one dummy dragged along on the team. Like, science, I don't know what any of this stuff is. Why is this person go now? But he's got this sort of, like, every time something weird happens, he will, like, take a longer pause than everybody else. And he's like, okay.
He's the member of the cast that is not on the team, but is the field agent that is, like, good friends with Olivia enough that she kind of drags him along behind them. So he always seems like he's 2 or 3 steps behind, or just doesn't understand exactly what they're doing. But it's just like, well, okay, you need my help, so I'm there. But that's it. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I like Charlie a lot. We don't get to know him super well, but I like that him and Olivia are very clearly friends. Like, not just colleagues. Like, they have a close relationship. He calls her Liv frequently. I like that. Yeah. I like the one episode where, like, we get to meet his wife briefly. We did this little peek into his home life.
Yeah.
Everybody in this show, maybe not like broils, but the main investigative team that we have, they all seem like good, solid people. They're nice company. That's what I've really found about watching this show this month. Because these are like 20, 22 episode seasons. And season 1, the episodes are 50 minutes long. I didn't remember network TV episodes being that long, except for special occasions. No, every episode clocks in at 50 minutes mostly. So it's a lot to watch, but this show is very watchable. It goes down smooth. And part of that is that the cast is good company. You like to be around them.
Indeed. Season 1 of this show is fantastic. I love it a lot. The whole show is great. I think this is one of my favorite first seasons of a television show in general.
I see that.
As a whole, I would say I don't know if this show would reach my favorites list, but it is it's
either.
Really damn solid. It's a damn good show.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I think that is about all I have to say on season 1 of Fringe.
There's more we could say, but we got to stop somewhere.
We do, yeah. Cool. So, how are we doing bingo again on the long ones? Are we doing it every time?
We check in with bingo every time, but for recommendations, we give them at the first episode and last episode.
Okay, let me see if I can pull up bingo. Let me make sure. Let's see. Where is it? Card should be on. Hopefully, if I change to this, it works. Hey, it worked. It's on this time. I don't know why it didn't get on the screen last time. Why it does that. Okay. Ooh, did we get a begin human trials? This would be the show to have it in it. I don't know if we got specifically. But
the vibe of begin human trials is pervasive throughout the entire show.
We got the vibe. We were vibing for sure. I'm willing to go to bat for misunderstood monster.
Yes.
Just in a number of these, whether it be Walter himself, whether it be in the finale, there was this young girl, right? People just don't understand what's happening to her. There's just a lot of misunderstood monsters.
Oh yeah, That extra episode we got, we didn't talk about that. How we both watched this on HBO Max, and there's like the finale, and then there's one extra episode.
That's what I was alluding to with like the finale is awful. It's just this extra episode.
I thought you were talking about the episode where like the truck is cut in half. Olivia goes to an alternate dimension.
That one's fantastic. That one's great.
I think that is the actual finale, and this episode that is listed last must have been like an episode that got dropped from airing and was like a DVD bonus, and like when it got put up on streaming, it just got added as like the final episode of season 1. Or maybe it was something that was like it aired way after everybody else. Like it got knocked from the regular airtime and aired maybe in like the middle of the summer, and because of that, it's listed last. Yeah, that is not a finale. That is some normal middle episode that just got bumped to the end.
It was awful. It's so bad. But yeah, so there's plenty of misunderstood monsters. This one here.
I definitely have contemporary use of retro technology.
Yes,
that's a big theme in this show,
which gives you another bingo.
It does, yeah.
Damn it.
I don't think we quite have small-time detective in over their head. Like these are all FBI agents used to, like they're not used to dealing with weird science, but they are used to dealing with crimes on this scale.
Yeah.
Terrorist attacks and things like that.
Yeah. Ooh, did we get a paper bag of tall groceries? You have that one on your list. I'm pretty sure we did. There's like scenes where they're walking in with it or something. I don't know.
They do have groceries. They do have the paper bag, but I don't know if they had the like, it's the iconic French baguette or stalk of celery sticking out of the paper bag. It is the height of it. The thing they put in the bag to tell you there's things in the bag.
Melissa, you got another good one. Hiding place in closet. When Walter sleeps in the closet and that's where he finds him there.
Okay, I'll get hiding place in closet. Right. And I don't think we necessarily have a diary. We have like lab notes. We have a manifesto. Yeah. Too bad I didn't write manifesto on this bingo sheet.
Right. I think that may be it for you.
Do you think the episode with the observer kid could be classified as a locked room mystery?
I don't think so. I don't think that's what we implied by that one.
Yeah, we meant something more traditionally, something that a Poirot would go investigate.
Right, yeah. They're all in the same room. The lights go out, lights come back on, and someone is dead. Yeah. Like, no one can leave. That's more of a locked room mystery. Did we get any kind of reaction of an animal to judge trustworthiness? I don't think so.
That's a good one.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, I don't think we did.
God, I really need for them to just can please someone in this show just please say begin human trials. I need it.
Yeah,
I need it.
If you wanted to mark that down now, I would allow you. Because we don't have the letter of the law, but we have the spirit of the law.
I'm gonna hold off on that.
Okay.
One, in hopes that we get it in a later season or in something else that we cover. But yeah, I do want to mark that down, because even if we don't get someone specifically saying it, that is exactly what ZFT is doing, right? They are human trials. Like, this is what they're doing.
If we get to the end of the series and we haven't officially said it, we'll give it out like a Lifetime Achievement Award to somebody who's never won an Oscar.
Okay. Well, there you go. So you got one more bingo out of that, and I got my first bingo out of that.
Hey!
Woohoo! Bingo, bingo, bingo. There we go. I'm going to hit save on that guy. And then I'm going to bring us back to the podcast scene. Here we are. Cool. So Melissa, let's do recommendations. If you enjoyed season 1 of Fringe, what else might you enjoy?
X-Files is a given. We keep mentioning X-Files. You know,
Yep.
if you're interested in Fringe, you probably have seen X-Files or have it on your list to see X-Files. I would also recommend, as mentioned earlier, Eureka. This was a sci-fi channel original series that also aired in the mid-2000s about a small town in Oregon where there's a big government scientific industry. And like every oddball scientist in America is sent to live here in this like controlled environment in this almost like bubble in the woods where it's like you're with your own kind. You've got all these people you can collaborate with, all these experiments you can do. It is a town built for science. And if you wreck the town, you're not wrecking the rest of the nation. Like it keeps everything contained. And it's a show about a U.S. Marshal who winds up in this town and is stationed there, and he doesn't know anything about science and has to learn it as he encounters a different scientific mystery every episode. That
good one.
Not explicitly a comedy, but more like a very, very light drama. Very much in the genre of like the USA shows. Characters are welcome on Eureka as well. And we did the first episode of our Patreon bonus series, The Pilots Club, where we watch TV pilots. We watched the pilot of Eureka.
Yeah, we sure did. I think that's a good recommendation for sure.
I would also throw in Hannibal, which has no odd science to it, I guess, except for strange ways of preserving bodies or like turning a body into a beehive. Just murder, like weird murder science is all they have.
Yeah.
But weird murder arts and crafts. That's the plot of Hannibal. I recommend it because it's also got this dark, moody aesthetic to it. Hannibal is 100% hashtag aesthetic. That's why you watch Hannibal, is for the look of the thing, the way everybody is dressed, the way every set is designed, how it's shot. But it's also got a similar dynamic among its crime solvers where there are closer bonds. There is a bit more of a familial feeling to it. Something that's unique about the show is that everybody is on first name basis with each other. Everybody calls each other by their given name. They've got a more naturalistic closeness to each other than you would see in many other procedurals.
Right.
It's not by any means a sweet show or a charming show, but if you just want like a really strange, intense bond to ponder over, you could watch Hannibal.
There you go. We covered Hannibal on number 126 of the review show. We covered season 1 of that. So not the full show, but that first season. So there you go. Any more recommendations from your side?
I'd say Dark, but I figured I would wait to see if you wanted to talk about Dark.
Dark would be a good one. We covered Dark on, again, our end of the month special. So we've covered the entirety of the show back in early 2021. Let's see, where was season 1 of Dark here? June 2nd, 2021, number 159. Season 2 was number 163, and season 3 was 165. Yeah, I would say if you like science experiments and like dark, moody, alternate dimension reality stuff, go check out Dark on Netflix. It's a fantastic show. I also want to toss up Maniac. Which is, I was not on that one, but this is one, Melissa, that you covered here on the show, number 167. And our friend of the show, Jack, joined you on that one. You guys watched, it's another like mini series on Netflix. And yeah, it is, again, like weird science experiment. Things go wrong. It's kind of wild and crazy. And yeah, I feel like that would fit in with all of the science stuff that they are doing here in Fringe. And yeah, that was number 167 of the review show. I also want to give a shout out to episode 170 of the review show, which was Passenger List. This was in audio drama. It's a podcast that Melissa, you and I covered a while back. There's this mysterious disappearance of this plane. And one of the family members of one of the people that was on the plane is investigating this. And it gets into some conspiratorial grounds, some science stuff, was it this? Was it that? Was it a chemical weapon? Was it hijacked? Was it just a regular crash? Was it weather? Was it something else? We don't know. So yeah, there is this like investigation that goes in with that one there. And I would think with the number of plane motifs that you get here in this show, that Passenger List might fit in there pretty well.
That's a very good recommendation. Passenger List is a really compelling mystery drama, especially listening to just a college student whose brother disappeared and she has no qualifications to solve a mystery, but she has gone so far she cannot turn back. Like her life is falling apart around her. So she has to get the solution to this. She has to find out what happened to her brother.
Indeed. Well, that's all the recommendations I have.
Yeah. I will say we don't always just recommend things we've covered on other episodes of the show.
We don't. But it's always good for us to recommend something else that we've done on the show, because then you guys can go check out that one.
Right. You can trace various thematic patterns that we have explored. I look at everything we've covered on the review show as like one set portfolio of themes that I keep returning to.
Yeah. Good stuff. Cool. Well, that about wraps us up for this week. For next week, Melissa, we've already done the pitches. We did these last week. So we're going to be covering Deadpool 1 and 2 this next week. It's going to be
You've never seen those movies.
Never seen them. I was hoping to make it out to Deadpool 1 when it came out, and then I just never got around to it. And it just kind of sat there. And then they made a sequel and it just kind of sat there. And I was just like, well, one of these days, I'll get to it. So Deadpool 1 and 2 is what we are watching for this next week. All right. We look forward to it. Yeah. Well, there you go. That wraps us up for this episode of the review show. Number 202, a good old palindrome. Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet? You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wilkywit. That's WILKYWIT. And listen to my other podcast, Saturday Morning Obscurities, show where me and my brother Jams talk about weird old kids shows you feel like only you remember. And I want to mention 2 episodes we've done recently that are admittedly aberrations from that theme. We did our first Saturday Night Obscurities talking about an adult cartoon, and we watched The Venture Brothers, which is another tale of innocent sons wrapped up in their father's super science antics. And good we stuff. Did an April Fool's episode where we acted like we are and have always been a Sci-Fi Channel original series podcast to break the kayfabe there. And we do talk about an episode of Eureka there as well. That's awesome. Good stuff. If you guys want to find me, I'm at Yo Kyle Springer on Twitter. If you want to stay up to date with all of the stuff that we do here at The Whatnots, we are at The Whatnots on Twitter. So please go like, share, and subscribe. That would help us out a ton. And yeah, that's about it. So we will see you all next time. Bye. Bye.